All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Thank you for everyone who's here. This is the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority Board meeting. Today is August 13th, 2023, and we're here in Senate Building, room 210. Thank you for everyone's here. My name is Jordan Tusher. I'm a co-chair of this committee, and I'd like to recognize Lowry Snow, who is the other co-chair of the committee, and other members of the committee that are here, both in person and online. Thank you for your attendance. We'll note that we have moved these meetings back to our regularly scheduled second Tuesday of the month to accommodate a change in the legislative calendar. And during the last meeting, we convened virtually to name Mike Ombre the interim executive director of the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority. So in just a few short weeks, Mike has provided a continuity of leadership and has moved this important project forward. So we appreciate Mike's willingness to accept this additional responsibility and also recognize him here today to my left. We have a busy meeting today, a lot of items on the agenda, and so we'll get right into it. We look forward to having several updates, including a phase 1 update from our private sector development partners, the Point Partners. But we'll start off with the second item on our agenda, which is the swearing in and oath of office for board members. And so I'll recognize Cece Niederhauser. Is she here?
Yes, she's right there.
Oh, there she is. Yeah. If you'll come forward, and we'd like to administer the oath of office to our two recently added members to the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority, both Director Ombre and Jeff Landward, our Commissioner of Higher Education. Is Jeff? I don't see him here. Okay. Let's do Mike now. So we'll turn some time over to you. I don't know if maybe I can turn that mic on so that people can hear you. Yeah, is that working?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. Mike, if you'll raise your right arm, repeat after me. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend. That I will support, obey, and defend. The Constitution of the United States.
Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Utah.
And the Constitution of the State of Utah.
And that I will discharge the duties.
I will discharge the duties.
Of my office with fidelity.
Of my office with fidelity.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome. Welcome to the board, and we're so happy to have you. It's been a pleasure to get to the chance to work with Mike over the last month, and just very excited to have him here. All right. We also have a point of personal privilege, if I could. During our last meeting, can you guys hear me okay? Okay, great. During our last meeting, we were able to only briefly recognize the Point's founding executive director, Alan Matheson. Today, we'd like to appropriately recognize him for the tremendous service that he has put in advancing this generational project. I know that Alan's service to the state and its residents will be felt for generations. And so I'd like to first present Alan with a statement of recognition. We have that here. I will go ahead and read the first half of this, and then I'll hand it over to our co-chair, Lowry Snow, to read the second half. And so it reads, the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority Board Resolution recognizing and honoring Executive Director Alan Matheson. And Alan, if you could make your way up here to the microphone as we read this. Whereas in 2018, Alan Matheson was appointed as the first executive director of the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority, the Point. Whereas Director Matheson's background and expertise in land planning, land use planning, environmental leadership, community engagement, legislative relations, and executive management were instrumental in creating and implementing the vision of the Point. Whereas Director Matheson's visionary, collaborative, transparent, and thoughtful leadership has guided the Point development from concept to plans to laying the foundation for this transformative project, which will have a multi-generational impact and deliver unprecedented economic returns to Utah taxpayers. Whereas Director Matheson assembled an exceptional team of staff and consultants bringing top-level expertise to the development of the point. And I'll turn it over to Larry here.
Whereas during Director Matheson's tenure, the Point received over 16,000 responses from Utahns through surveys, public forums, and outreach opportunities sharing their vision, hopes, and ideas for the Point. Whereas Director Matheson oversaw the development of the framework plan for the Point, enlisting the support of the internationally recognized team of Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill, and engaging numerous local stakeholders, groups, and thousands of Utahns. Whereas the framework plan envisions a new, innovative community and economic catalyst that is grounded in Utah's unique character, a plan that Fast Company magazine named a world-changing idea. Whereas under the direction of the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority Board and in conjunction with the Utah Division of Facilities, Construction, and Management, Director Matheson successfully oversaw demolition of the former state prison, recycling 76% of the building materials. Whereas Director Matheson oversaw a robust and competitive process to select a world-class Phase 1 development partner to realize the vision of the Point. Whereas Director Matheson negotiated an unprecedentedly complex development agreement that protects and advances the interests of the people of Utah. Whereas Director Matheson worked in partnership with the Utah legislature to secure funding for critical infrastructure that will be paid back to taxpayers. Whereas it's a good thing that you're a lawyer. These are a lot of whereases, Alan, you'll appreciate that. Whereas Director Matheson managed the design of a future-focused transportation system, including new freeway and road access, a front-runner station, light rail transit, internal circulator, micro-mobility hubs, walkable and bikeable streets, and even advanced air mobility that significantly reduces traffic. Whereas Director Matheson worked closely with the Utah system of higher education to make the Point a center of innovation and to design Convergence Hall, the heart of the Point's Innovation District. Whereas Director Matheson negotiated and approved a unique and visionary plan for Phase 1 that includes a mixed-use core with world-class shopping, restaurants, public art, office buildings, residences, entertainment, venues, parks, trails, and transit. Whereas Director Matheson approached the Point development process with a commitment to transparency, ethics, and honoring the trust of the public. He demonstrated a dedication to open and transparent meetings and processes to allow Utah residents to follow, contribute to, and have confidence in their project. Whereas Director Matheson, along with the board, created the vision and laid the foundation for the Point, which will benefit generations of Utahns. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority Board recognizes Alan Matheson for the multi-generational impact of his leadership and his efforts as the founding executive director of the Point. Be it further resolved that the board recognizes and expresses deep appreciation to Alan Matheson for his leadership, vision, and sacrifice given on behalf of the residents of the great state of Utah. In witness whereof, we certify the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority Board did approve and pass this resolution on the 13th day of August, 2024. Signed, Lowry Snow, co-chair, and Representative Jordan Tusher, co-chair.
Thank you, Chair Snow. I'm going to go to Director Ombre for a motion.
I would recommend a motion to accept this resolution.
All right, so the motion is to approve the Point of the Mountain State Land Authority Board Resolution recognizing and honoring Executive Director Alan Matheson. Do we have a second?
This is Dawn. I'd be happy to.
All right, we'll let Mayor Ramsey second that. So the motion is before us. Any discussion to the motion? Go ahead, Chair Snow.
Thank you. I don't know whether this is the appropriate time. I think we're going to give some time to board members to weigh in, whether it's part of the motion or otherwise, correct? But it gives me great honor to speak in favor of the motion. I can tell you, I can tell you that everything that has been read in this resolution about the impact that Alan has had in this project up to this point is true and accurate. I don't think, I know for certain we would not be where we are today with the project without everything that he brought to the table and brought to the process when we selected him to be the director. And it gives me great pleasure and great honor to recognize him, not just for his leadership, but also for his friendship and also his dedication to the state and to this project. So thank you very much, Alan.
All right. Any other discussion? Senator Stevenson.
Well, I would second what former Representative Snow or Co-Chair Snow had just said. I've had opportunity to know and work with Alan for well over 20 years, and goes back to the days of Envision Utah when he was the executive director, and I had opportunity to work with that organization. And Alan, the thing that I find, you're not only a great leader, but I consider you a great friend, and I think that's very valuable to me. I'm going to get to work with him as we continue to move forward. I have a position, I'm involved with the Inland Port, and the Inland Port has a lot of property that borders Kennecott property or Rio Tinto property. And so I'm sure our relationship will continue, and I look forward to that. You have been a great friend for a long while, and just expressed your leadership is amazing. I told someone this morning, I'm not sure that I've ever seen you mad. I'm sure you've been that way because I'm sure I've caused that to happen at times. But I've never seen you when you weren't a perfect gentleman, and I think that's valuable to all of us. What amazing traits. You're a great leader, and look forward to continuing to work with you in the future.
Thank you, Senator. Mayor Ramsey.
Thank you. First of all, apologies, a little late. My technology is struggling today. I'm on my phone right now and still can't get something's wrong with my laptop, and I'm not we're working on it. So apologies for that. I just want to chime in really quickly and not let the opportunity go to publicly thank Alan Matheson for the incredible work that he's done as the first director of the Point. It was a privilege to be part of the process of screening applicants and choosing Alan. And Alan was the right person to help lead us off as executive. He has done an outstanding job, and he's led with integrity, and he's been very responsive and to everyone. Alan has been fantastic, and I'm just grateful for him and his leadership, and forward to I know we'll be hearing someone new, and they've got big shoes to fill. Alan's been a fantastic leader, and we wish him the best and appreciate his friendship, and look forward to seeing what he does with the rest of his career. Great man. Thank you, Alan, for everything.
Thank you, Mayor. Director Starks.
I would describe Alan as being unflappable. And so it's wonderful to see that in situations with intense pressure or scrutiny, he's unflappable. He gets unfazed. And so that's a trait that just reflects his character, high character person. He's somebody that I would always want on my team. When I took my job and was appointed to this board, I think I was equally excited to serve with Alan as I was to serve on this board. And I love this project, but Alan kind of has a legend behind him. It's like the great Alan Matheson. So it was wonderful to be able to work shoulder to shoulder with you, Alan. So thank you for your leadership and friendship. And I still would like you to buy me lunch one of these days soon. So thank you.
Awesome. I don't see any other discussion of the motion, so I'll place the motion. All those in favor of approving and having the chair sign this resolution recognizing and honoring Executive Director Alan Matheson, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll rule that passes. Thank you. Alan, before we move on, I want to give you the opportunity to say any words if you'd like to.
I would like to. Thank you very much. Those thoughts mean a lot, and the first thing that comes to mind is that that resolution is overly generous. I was involved in a lot of those things, but none of it happened without an awful lot of support from the wonderful staff and consultants and the board, a lot of people in the community, our legislature, and others. So very much an effort on the part of Team Utah to make it happen. And I can't justifiably take credit for those things. I am deeply grateful. I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity I've had to work on this incredible project. And we've talked about it as being generational, and I really believe that it is, and truly a career highlight, something that I look at as just an incredible honor and opportunity. I'm grateful for the things that I've been able to learn, working again with many good people. And I'm grateful for the support that you provided throughout this process. I've worked with a number of boards, outstanding boards. This one has been absolutely involved, invested, active, participatory in making sure that things move forward, and I'm grateful for that. And most of all, very grateful for the personal relationships. That's what makes life worth living. And to work with the staff we've had, the partners that we have, the consultants, and with you as board members has just been one of the more meaningful aspects of my life. I fully expect and absolutely want those relationships to continue and to grow. I'll just say this is a great project. It's moving forward. It will move forward better, faster than it has. It's going to make a difference in the community, in the state. I think it's going to be an example for many. And I will be an ongoing champion of this project and appreciate the efforts that all of you make to move it forward, to make a better world for not just us, but for those we care about and those we don't even know who will be following. So with all my heart, thanks for this opportunity. Thanks for your overly kind words, and let's keep it going.
Great word. Well, Alan, if you'll stay there, Chair Snow and I have signed a copy of this resolution that I'll come and give to you. We'd also like to present you with this gift, which is a rendering of the point, what we expect it to be, with a plaque here that recognizes the service that you've served on the board. And we hope that this will be a symbol of the great work that you've done in taking a concept into reality. And so just so grateful for your leadership, and would love to present this to you on behalf of the board. Sure.
Above and beyond. Let's put him in the middle.
Yeah.
I didn't get the memo on the blue.
All right. Well, thank you. That was great. We'll move to the third item on our agenda, which is the public comment period. This is a public project, and as a board, we have a responsibility to ensure that this project reflects the public's values and provides broad public benefits. And so we really value any input from residents. In fact, over the time, we'd love to mention that we've had over 16,000 different input responses, survey responses, one-on-one interviews with members of the public to make sure that what the public wants is reflected here in the Point Project. And so we want to welcome any public comments at this time, following the procedures that are outlined on the agenda. Those that wish to speak can first come here to the speaker's table. And if there's anyone online, if you would just raise your hand. So is there anyone in the room that'd like to speak? Yeah, if you could just come forward here. And we'll give everyone about 2 minutes.
My name is Lisa Clark Price with the Statue of Responsibility, and I want to take my 1 minute just to express our gratitude for Alan Matheson as well. The Statue of Responsibility Foundation is very grateful that we have not only had we feel a great supporter of the project, but also we have made a great friend. So Alan, thank you from all of us for your incredible efforts in everything that you do and for being such an amazing human. We feel lucky to know you.
Thank you, Ms. Price. We'll just go with the next person in the room that raised their hand. Yeah, go ahead. Again, if you'll just introduce yourself and any organization you might represent.
I'm Becky McIntosh, and I'm here on behalf of and support of the Statue of Responsibility. Reflect on a time when something resonated with you so deeply that it sent chills down your spine. That's what happened to me when Gary and Lisa Price shared their vision of bringing Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl's concept of the Statue of Responsibility to fruition. I felt it so intensely that I felt it to my very core. Since then, I have been avidly following and supporting their journey. As a resident of Lehigh, I was thrilled to learn of the proposal to erect the 305-foot statue at the point of the mountain. The location seems ideal for such a landmark monument. Rising from the site of the former state prison, it symbolizes that freedom comes with the duty of personal responsibility and the importance of uplifting and caring for our fellow humans, our country, and our planet. People might wonder why we need a monument to spark responsibility. The answer is that we all need reminders. Monuments serve as tangible symbols of historical events and figures, preserving our cultural heritage for future generations. They also have the power to inspire us, reminding us of our shared humanity and the values that unite us as a society. Just like the Statue of Liberty has inspired countless immigrants, the Statue of Responsibility can serve as a powerful reminder for my future generations and yours. I have had the privilege of visiting inspiring landmarks like the Taj Mahal, the Liberty Bell, the Statue of Liberty, and the Arch in St. Louis. The two hands grasping each other is a beautiful representation of connection and unity. At times, I have been the hand reaching up for support, and other times, I have been the hand reaching down to help others. The stained glass arch adds the element of light and color and sparks the imagination. In an era where everyone is often looking down at their phones, this statue encourages you to look up, inspiring and stirring our imagination and hope. As the grandmother of 18 grandchildren, I envision my grandchildren and their descendants looking out from the visitor's deck at the top of this iconic Statue of Responsibility in our beautiful state of Utah. I strongly believe this statue is a powerful symbol to nurture and develop their sense of responsibility, encouraging them to be thoughtful, engaged citizens who contribute positively to their communities and the world. I can't wait. The timing is perfect, and this project truly deserves support. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We'll take the next person from the public.
Hello, I am Scott McIntosh. I am married to that beautiful grandma. So I just, if I come across as a hick, it's because I am. And anyway, I'm here to represent the Statue of Responsibility, but I have deep-rooted Utah history, and I'm very proud of that. In Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, he spoke of people who were in the concentration camp and their outlook on life. It didn't matter how strong they were, how powerful they were. If they didn't have a reason to live, if they didn't feel like they were going to see family again or have some purpose, that they just died, that they were simply going to die. And he witnessed that over and over. And so as I think of his vision and his vision of helping others, to give us a purpose to live, to help lift others. And that when we're in a state of mind where we don't feel like we have any purpose, that we don't have anybody that we can lift, then we need lifting, that we will allow that to happen. I think that reminder is huge in that Statue of Responsibility that will sit at the point of the mountain as people pass from Salt Lake County to Utah County and have that gentle reminder every time they drive past there that it's not only a great time to live, but it's our purpose to live, and that we have a reason and we have that to lift others and help others. We live in a time where there's a lot of turmoil, there's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of violence and drugs and things that are not good, and we can't allow them to take over. We need to meet them with the good, and the good would be to give a reminder to our children that we can leave a legacy behind, that every time they see that they are responsible as they lift others, and we'll make this world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Take the next person from the public.
Good morning. My name is Chantel McBride, and I'm a board-certified professional clinical chaplain. I do end-of-life care with hospice in 4 of our local hospitals here. And yes, I had to read that. I'm so nervous. It is my honor to speak on behalf of the passionate Gary Lee Price and the Statue of Responsibility. The Statue of Liberty stands as a symbol of freedom, democracy, and a spirit of America. It was given to the United States by France in 1886 as a gift, and it has since become an iconic representation of liberty and democracy worldwide. The statue's torch symbolizes enlightenment, and the tablet carries represents the law. The statue has come to embody the values of liberty, equality, and democracy. Conversely, a statue of responsibility, a concept proposed by Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, and later supported by philosopher Elie Wiesel, would symbolize the idea that liberty and freedom come with responsibilities. It would emphasize the importance of individuals not only enjoying their rights and freedoms, but also recognizing the importance, their duties towards society and others. A statue of responsibility would promote the principles of accountability, civic duty, and ethical behavior. It would remind people that with freedom comes the responsibility to use it wisely and for the greater good of society. We all have a responsibility and opportunity to promote peace and harmony among all citizens. There are many atrocities throughout history that can remind us when we don't take responsibility and fail to love one another as brothers and sisters, the devastation that can occur. It is our responsibility to help one another, and when we don't, we're cheating each other out of connection and leaving footprints of hate. We do not announce responsibility, we demonstrate responsibility with how we 100% conduct our own lives. Dare to reach out your hand into the darkness, to pull another hand into the light. It's by Norman B. Rice. We are all leaving an imprint emotionally, spiritually, and physically on this planet. And with that comes a great responsibility. The Statue of Responsibility will be a beacon of just that, as well as inspiration and hope. May this statue powerfully bless all of our lives in countless ways. This is our prayer. Amen.
Thank you for that comment. Next member of the public.
Hi, my name is Sue Brenchley, and I did not plan on speaking today, and I'm sorry for the emotion. I've been working with this project for a long time now, but the reason for my emotion is 6 years ago today, my son took his life. We have a problem where people need to be connected more than ever. And I just want to say, it is not just the people in this room. It's not just the people that have been here before. It is important that this project become reality, because more than ever, we have people losing hope. And I don't know how many of you have been on the other side of that happening, but we have more people today losing hope than we ever have, and it's just going to grow. And the conversations that are going to be started, not just in our state, but worldwide, will not be started without something of this significance and without the path that every single one of us have lived in order to be at a point where, again, this isn't a monument, it's a movement. Monuments are only about history. Movements are about the vision of where we can go and how we can help. There are so many people reaching out for help right now, and we need to be strong enough to be the people that reach down to help. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else from the public in the room that would like to speak? Yeah, come ahead.
Hi, I'm Rachel Lofgren. I'm the executive assistant for the Statue of Responsibility, but I kind of want to speak as an outsider. I'm not a great speaker like all of they were. They were wonderful, but I am a very passionate person, and I very much have, core principles that I really believe in. And coming as an outsider and looking at the people that have been involved with this project has been absolutely incredible. They're such good people. And I just want to thank all of you, the Point of the Mountain, for your vision. My dad worked at the prison for 13 years at the Point of the Mountain, and it was, as you can imagine, just very difficult. It was a very difficult time in our lives. I learned so much about, people and, those that make bad decisions. And unfortunately, we do need prisons. People make bad choices, but what you guys are doing is just absolutely what needs to happen. The direction it's going, we need to create a place where people can grow, where families can come together, teach their children good principles, have a positive influence instead of the negative influence that, my family experienced. There's all kinds of things I could say, but I'm really grateful for you guys. I'm really grateful for Alan Matheson, and I'm very grateful for the Statue of Responsibility. I want to echo what Sue said. It's more than a monument, it's a movement. And it's absolutely incredible to have something that can be so unifying for people from different religions, from different cultures, from different, I think Stephen Covey said, whether you believe in a religion or not, you still need to find out what your core principles are. And if you don't have those, you can't build upon yourself and build yourself, build your, whole personality. You need to start with the core principles and go from there. Know what's true from the core. And I know responsibility is a very important core responsibility. So once again, I want to thank you guys for all the work that you are doing and making this a great place for Utah.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. Anyone else? Don't see anyone in the room or online, so we'll go ahead and close public comment. Thank you again for giving input to the point. We really appreciate that. All right, we'll move to the fourth item on our agenda, which is a review of the minutes of June 11th, 2024 and July 15th, 2024's board meetings. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve those minutes from the board. Director Starks makes the motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Senator Stevenson seconds. So the motion before us is to approve the minutes of June 11th and July 15th, 2024's board meetings. Any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, I'll place the motion. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any-
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And those minutes are approved. All right, the fifth item on our agenda is a review of the fiscal year 2024 and 2025 budget and budget proposals. So I'll recognize Don Willie if you would come up here, and I'll just mention that with the closure of fiscal year 2024, this will give us a chance to review our year-end financial statements. We're so grateful for the trust that's been placed by the public and our staff, and know that our staff are committed to being good stewards of taxpayer funds. And we also appreciate the work of our finance committee, which includes April Cooper and Mike Ombre from the board that review our financial statements and help prepare the budget. So I'll recognize Don now to give us a review and proposal for next year's budget. Don.
Thank you, Chair Tesher. It's always nice to close out a fiscal year and start over, especially for us as we look through the numbers. Very impressive in terms of making sure that we are good stewards of public funds and utilizing every dollar to its maximum potential on behalf of taxpayers in this project. So I'll call your attention to the upper right portion of the screen where I've laid out the percentages. This is our burn rate for the year. So by June, we expect 100% of our budget to be utilized. As we come down here, I just want to highlight some areas on our budget and provide some clarification. Let me first now draw your attention to the bottom right. This is our total operating expenses, and we utilized just 44% of our budget, and we were able to accomplish everything to a high standard, ensuring that the project moved forward. So nowhere did we skimp on execution and being able to deliver results, but we were able to ensure that we utilize these funds, and those funds will carry over into future years where we anticipate some additional needed support as the project does move forward. We did have several overages, which we have been tracking and anticipated throughout the year. This just includes in travel expenses, some additional travel that again related to the disposition and development agreement negotiations. And then in addition, with leadership changes required some additional in-state travel. So while slightly above, we still are significantly under budget in our total expenses associated with travel. In our overall operating expenses, just a few minor overages, as you can see, percentages compared to the dollar amount. Just some minor overages there. I'll call your attention to convention, seminars, workshops, and committees, budget line 6276. We had some unique opportunities to go to trade shows at the end of the fiscal year to be able to talk about the project and be able to have productive conversations with potential partners, potential tenants as well. So we joined our private sector development partners at ICSC in Las Vegas. And then also we're able to attend Bio International in San Diego as a focus of our development is on the key target cluster areas, one of which is biotech. And so those we felt were important investments of time and budget to be able to talk about the progress on the project and be able to make valuable connections and relationships as we move forward. Finally, in our technology expenses, we anticipated this. We just had some FY23 expenses that posted in FY24. And that was, it came through because of a glitch in the system. And so we had conversations with the Department of Technology services and have been able to resolve that to ensure that that did post. The FY24 charges have posted in FY24, and we've got a good baseline moving forward to this current fiscal year that we're now in. So again, total expenditure from a percent standpoint is 44% of the budget. That leaves almost 2.2 million that will carry over into fiscal year 25 and beyond.
Yeah, thank you for that review. I'll invite any members of the Finance Committee, April Cooper or Director Ombre. Do you have any comments or any additional color or context?
The only thing I would say is it's fortunate that we're able to roll money over. So I think Pomzo has done a great job.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from the committee? All right. I'm not seeing any. If you want to go forward with the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget. I'll note while that's coming up, we did review and approve the budget during our June meeting. However, there was some administrative oversight, so we need to reapprove it, having posted the budget for public comment. So Don, if you want to just walk us through that.
Thank you. Again, you've seen this budget, you've approved this budget, but again, I just want to express appreciation to Cece. She is the font of knowledge, I think, in state government, and she caught this error and was able to get this corrected for us. So I want to express appreciation to her to ensuring that we're doing this the right process and are able to provide opportunity for the public to weigh in. We have not received any public comment from the posting, but I do want to just review this. We do have our revenue forecast for FY25, so that is the only adjustment that you'll see here. So let me just share that with you. From the last fiscal year, our carryovers, $10,891,000. We do get an annual legislative appropriation that backfills. That's $1.75 million. We do have additional interest income on the funds that we retain at $192,000, and then additional income that comes from leases on the property, current leases on the property of $190,000. So that gives our starting budget, beginning balance of $13,023,000. So with that, that's the only adjustment that's been made to this budget. We went through and ensured that we were providing a reasonable budget for each of these lines, also giving us an opportunity to make some budget reductions from last year. So you'll see a budget decrease of $481,000, again, without the disposition development agreement as a main focus. That being passed has allowed us to conserve some funds in this year's budget, and then just additional operational efficiencies that we've been able to implement over the last year. So our projected, with the spend, if we're on track in this coming fiscal year, our projected account balance at the end of the year will be $9,607,000. That does not include the additional legislative appropriation. That would just be the carry forward for FY26.
Awesome. Thank you, Don. Anything you'd add to that, Director or April?
Nope.
All right. Any questions or comments from the committee? Not seeing any, so I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 budget. Chair Snow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd make a motion that we approve the FY25 budget. Actually, it's a reapproval according to the presentation by our director, our deputy director. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Snow. So the motion is to reapprove the Land Authority's fiscal year 2025 budget financial statements. Is there a second?
This is Jenny Wilson. I'll second.
All right. We'll recognize Mayor Wilson on that with the second. Any discussion from the board on the motion?
Quick comment in support of the motion, if I may.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to thank Deputy Director Don for your work. It's commendable anytime moving forward with the budget, we see a decrease. And I think a lot of the credit goes to you and your watchful eye over expenses. Also appreciate the members of the Finance Committee who have real input into this process, I believe. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Not seeing any other comment, we'll go ahead and place the motion. The motion again is to reapprove the Land Authority's fiscal year 2025 budget financial statements. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
I'll rule that passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll move to the sixth item on our agenda, and we've got Don up here to present. And I'll just preface this. This is the Advanced Air Mobility RFP item. And earlier this year, the Land Authority released a request for proposal seeking for a qualified firm to prepare an advanced air mobility study for the point. We received 8 different responses to that RFP. And after reviewing the proposals and conducting interviews, Don's going to walk us through what our recommended proposal is to move forward for board approval. So Don, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Tusher. As you can imagine, this is a nuanced field, and so while 8 may not seem like a significant number, it was a very competitive application or submittal process. We appreciate each of the firms that submitted for the RFP. We recognize the time and effort and attention that goes in to preparing these. These are not thrown together in an hour. These take weeks and a lot of resources. So I just want to express our appreciation to all those that submitted in response to the RFP. In May of 2024, we issued the Urban Air Mobility RFP, and the Land Authority in that was requesting assistance in conducting a feasibility study with the goal of preparing a master plan for the site. This consists of really 2 phases. First is a utilization demand study, and second, a technical feasibility analysis. Both of those are critical at this juncture of the project as we consider the infrastructure that's being installed and the future of transportation. If we wait 10 years to have these conversations, we'll have moved too far down to be able to install infrastructure necessary for a new mode of transportation that at this point is visionary, but very much in reality in the coming years. So the time is now to be able to conduct these studies. That way we can utilize funds effectively in infrastructure installation and development. Our review committee consisted of myself, Alan Matheson, UDOT Aeronautics, team member Paul Dameron, and 47G's Chris Metz. We appreciate their time and effort. Again, the review process is time intensive, and so we appreciate the time that they spent volunteering to support this effort. In reviewing the 8 proposals, we were able to narrow down the pool to 3 finalists, 3 firms. In addition to being the highest scoring proposal, Nexa Advisors also provided a competitive budget for the work that we asked to be done. Their budget that was set was $150,000 to produce those 2 outcomes that we've requested. The committee recommends approving the advanced air mobility proposal submitted by Nexa Advisors. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you for that presentation. Any discussion or action from the board? Oh, hang on, Director. Go ahead.
Could you walk us through the timeline of when this study will be conducted and kind of what are the deliverables?
Yeah, of course. So again, the 2 elements that we've requested, the 2 pieces of the study. First, the utilization demand. That is really tracking regional flight pattern definitions, trip demand projections, projection of usage at the point specifically, opportunities for ride sharing and drone delivery services. So that's the first that we expect to be completed. And that's using pretty much existing data in collaboration with UDOT. And then polling, one of the reasons we selected Nexa was due to their vast access to data that they've secured themselves and also through partners as well. So that's the first deliverable that we've requested. Second is the Vertiport technical feasibility analysis, and that includes public agency regulations. Of course, we know from past recent legislative sessions, our state is at the forefront of these regulations, and we appreciate the foresight and leadership of our legislators. Physical constraints on the project. We understand, of course, where the project is situated. While it is a prime piece of land, there are some constraints associated, power lines, freeway, along the flight path for Salt Lake International Airport as well. And so they'll review that. Potential environmental impacts, evaluating locations based on convenience and adjacent land uses, identifying the actual vertiport sites on the property, conceptual cost estimate, and then producing a summary document. We anticipate that will take place over the next 8 to 12 months.
Awesome. Okay, the goal is to have taxis taking people from point A to point B by the 2034 Olympics. So if you can make that happen, you have my full support. Thank you.
We've got to Linda. Do you want to respond? To Linda, just to recognize Linda's part of the Nexa team. She's been a key leader in the aerospace economy in Utah for many years. So that was definitely part of our conversation, is their local leadership that they have here, in addition to a national presence, international presence in the work they do.
Thank you, Director. Chair Snow.
Thank you. Following up on Ryan's comment, for members of the public or who may be joining us, and maybe as a reminder to the board, as I understand it, this isn't something totally futuristic that may or may not happen. This is the future, potentially the near future, and I agree with you, Ryan. By the time we're welcoming the world for the Olympics, not just for air taxi with small vehicles, small aircraft, but more than that, recognizing the Point's mission to also be a place where that kind of innovation takes place. So my question is, and I kind of gave you a lead in, talk about timing and why this is important. Aside from the Olympics, this is not the first site that has taken this step in our country. Am I correct about that?
You're correct. And I'll mention too that we are working in close collaboration with UDOT Division of Aeronautics and 47G closely. As you may be aware of Project Alta that 47G is spearheading, and their desire to ensure that Utah is a leader in this space, not just at the Point, but the state as a whole. There are projects that are being explored and implemented across the world at this point. In our conversations, the UAE is, I believe it's the UAE, is exploring over 100 vertiport sites over the next decade is their goal. And so there are some that are a little ahead, but we feel that we are perfectly timed in the position of our project, the timeline of our current project, and the infrastructure. That's kind of the critical element here. And the reason for this study now is we need to install the infrastructure for the future. We don't think this is an if, this is a when scenario that we will see this new technology in transportation. And so planning for and installing infrastructure now to accommodate that and planning for those sites is critical.
Thank you, Don. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair Snow. Mayor Ramsey.
Hey, I just wanted to say that I appreciate, and I'm glad that it was said, that this has been looked at and evaluated in conjunction with the Point. But I just want to make sure it's clear that we're not doing our own thing here with the state of Utah, with UDOT Aeronautics, with 47G. This is a combined collaborative effort and conversation that is being looked at for these, vertiports and whatnot at the Point. But I think the fact that this is a collective effort that's being made and that we have the chance to potentially host sites like that at the Point, but that the planning, evaluation of these proposals was done collectively. There's a lot of value in that, and I just want to add emphasis to it and say it again to make sure that it's clear that that's what this is, and that's the reason I'm supportive of this. I appreciate the collaborative effort of everybody working from the same page. So thank you, Don.
Thank you, Mayor Ramsey. All right, we'll continue with discussion or action. If anyone wants to make a motion to approve the selection of Nexa advisors, approve the recommendation. Go ahead, Director Starks.
I move that we approve the selection of, what are they?
Nexa advisors.
Nexa advisors. Thank you.
All right, so the motion is to approve the recommendation to award the contract to Nexa advisors. Any excuse me, can I get a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second from Director Ombre. Any discussion to that motion from the board? Seeing none, I'll place the motion again. This is to approve the recommendation to award the contract to Nexa advisors. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. All right, I'll recognize that passed unanimously. Thank you, Don. Appreciate the presentation.
Of course, thank you.
All right, we'll invite Steve Kellenberg to join us. I think he's online. And move to the 7th item on our agenda. This is the Swift Cities Modular Transit Study proposal. And just to give a little context here, earlier this year, the board approved the creation of a subcommittee to review urban mobility transit options. So the committee has reviewed a proposal recently received by Land Authority staff and has advised that the board consider the proposal. So I'll turn the time over to Steve Kellenberg to present that recommendation. Steve.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and Board. Thanks for having me in front of you this morning. This is a very interesting topic, I think you'll find. Let me just a little bit of a foreword. That is that, we understand clearly that part of our charter is to be an innovation community. And so we kind of, as we're going down the road, so to speak, on developing the project and working with our partners, we're always kind of keeping our eyes open for other opportunities that would kind of represent an opportunity for innovation, testing, being kind of a laboratory for new technologies and so forth. And this is one that sort of showed up on the landscape, and we've been studying it and talking to this group. I think you'll find it interesting. What you see on the screen right now is, we've had as a circulator as part of the projects kind of really since day one. And this diagram is just pointing out that there's a lot of desire lines, and the project is big enough that it's a walkable community in its nature that we're designing and building, but that it's of a scale that it's difficult to really walk from one end to the other. And even though we would have light rail and of course Front Runner bringing folks onto the site, how do you provide that so-called last mile that is always so challenging? And also, how do we get, even notwithstanding, the transit accessing the site, how do you get from one side to the other? How do you get to the retail center? How do you get from housing, which is primarily on the west side, to jobs, which is primarily on the right? And so way back when, these are old diagrams, I dusted them off, that, we looked at how could this circulator, what might it look like? What's the most efficient kind of alignment? Sam Schwartz, who's our transit consultant, did a fairly detailed analysis, ended up with the scenario in the middle, loop 2, because loop route, because it provides the greatest service area to the largest part of the project. And this would be an road, transit system, local transit system that would be in a dedicated right of way. This is a more refined plan. It's a little hard to read, but you can see here hopefully you can see my cursor. You can see here the LRT. Here's one station. Here's another station. Here's another station. Here's the Front Runner station, and this lighter teal kind of line, aqua line. This would be the circulator route as is currently proposed. And you know, what that is to be kind of determined. You know, obviously we already have an LRT component, but is it UTA is planning on using this route for their regional bus line, accessing off-site and accessing primarily the Front Runner station. And then they would have a number of various kind of conventional van, minibus type equipment that could be used if it was operated by UTA. We've also looked at other alternatives that would be a little bit more progressive. That would be autonomous shuttle-like, and these autonomous shuttles are continuing to evolve. As we all know, autonomy on roads is taking longer than what was originally anticipated, but in a dedicated right of way, you know, by the time we would actually utilize and implement this, which would be 4 or 5 years out, because the initial early phases don't really require a circulator. It's all sort of core walkable area. We have a fairly high confidence that autonomy would be a possibility, you know, for this circulator. So given that kind of brings us up to where we are today, I'm going to shift gears here and talk a little bit about a different idea that has presented itself. Are you all seeing, hold on here. Are you seeing a big blue screen?
We're seeing the presenter view. If you could swap it, then.
Okay. It's easy for you to say.
There we go. You can
Is that
see it.
better? Okay,
Yes.
good. So we've looked at a couple of other, you know, a little bit more, I guess, progressive ideas. This is SWIFT. It's a personal rapid transit system that is aerial. I mean, one of the options we looked at a year or so ago was actually a different personal rapid transit system called Glideways. We rejected it because it required too many grade separated crossings in our infrastructure that we felt would be too expensive. And the phasing of it was really not in line with what we were doing. This is a very different type of system. It's not one that you can go ride, you know, half a dozen different places around the world. There's one, the first development is currently in New Zealand. It's under construction. There's a second one in Houston that's getting ready to start construction. And the idea on this system is that you basically it's not a gondola, in that you have a shared you know, pod that is on a moving cable. In this case, the cable is fixed, and each of these pods is a personal rapid transit pod. It's only for you and your family or whoever's traveling in your party. It actually has an electric motor that runs on the cable and a battery system that is rechargeable. And the idea is that you can see here, this is it, you know, in its experimental mode. But the idea is that you know, you have an app. You use that app to identify a station that you're going to. You go to that station. You get on your personal pod. Then you go to your destination directly. So this doesn't stop at individual stations. It goes from, if you go from one station A to station G, you go there at 25 to 35 miles an hour without stopping at any other locations, and it takes you directly to your end location. And it does this, and you can see here, here's a station illustration here. If you're coming down to your station and either departing or initiating the trip, you would then, here's the station, you would then move up on this rail into the moving line of pods without stopping, any of the other pods stopping. And so it's a continuous flow. The idea is that it's you don't have a head time. You know, you get to the station and your pod is waiting for you because you've ordered ahead of time. And you also have a faster trip because you're not in congestion and you're also not stopping at other stations. And also there's a certain attraction to it that would make it probably more interesting to use than more conventional van type rubber tired vehicles, on the ground. You can see here that, again, the vehicle's waiting for you. You're on your way in seconds. You arrive at your destination. There's more riders. Of course, they believe that this would increase, have an impact on land value, just because of the kind of the wow factor and also the effectiveness of the transit and movement around the project. There's a number of different, it's fairly flexible in that you can do an initial alignment and then expand it at a fairly low incremental additional cost. There's different station footprints based on whether it's a primary, secondary, or tertiary level of ridership, depending. So obviously the primary stations would have more storage and carrying capacity than smaller ones. The idea here is that it's easily feasible that you would do a core initial phase, and then you can just, it's like a tree. You can add additional limbs to the tree, depending on, needs, future development, phasing, and so forth. So, we've kind of looked at, what that might look like, for the point. The initial first phase would be the green area, which would be primarily serving areas around the phase one. Then as we move to the west into the more residential areas, it would expand. And of course, once the front runner station is developed, it would also expand to connect with the front runner station. And the red would be, that's an optional extension. It just shows what could happen if needed, if additional stations were required. It's needless to say, it's more expensive than, the conventional on-road systems. Here are some initial sort of very high level cost analysis, with a capital cost of, in the first phase, this is showing about 34 million, that second phase about 37 million. And then that ultimate phase, if it was ever done, could be, so each phase was about the same, 30 to 40 million dollars. From an operational standpoint, it's where the benefit comes in, because once it's set up, the operating costs are relatively low. And you can see down here for the first phase, it would be about $2 million. Adding the second phase is not, even though it doubles the amount of stations, it's about a fourth of the additional cost and so forth. So once it's up and running, the additional cost is not that much more. This is another alternative that we kind of looked at, which would take and actually run it down the River to Range with a more direct linkage from the rail station. And this one actually, we've had it's been such a challenge trying to figure out how to get the LRT from the east side of the interstate down over into the site. There's a lot of grade there. It's going to be very, very expensive and somewhat awkward to build a major bridge structure that goes over the interstate and drops down into the site. And this was just sort of exploring the idea of what if instead of doing that, you basically used the SWIFT system to make that transition and avoid all the cost of all that structure. So there'd probably be a significant savings. We've actually kind of run this idea by UTA. They at this point aren't very interested because it's so out of the norm of what they normally do that it would just take a lot of R&D and further work for them to consider such an option. And so anyway, this is how that particular idea could grow over time. And these are some costs. The costs are not that much different from the previous. You can see these are where the station, the towers might go. You can see on the upper right, this is a smaller footprint station. We don't really need to get into the detail of these. The idea is that the actual impact efficiency from an actual trip reduction would be significantly higher. They're suggesting there's at least a 34% increase in ridership due to the higher efficiency and the sort of attraction aspect of it. And again, here you can, the cost per rider is, once it's up and running, is significantly less than conventional transit components. But once you do put together the total capital cost and net cost, it is more expensive than sort of the base case UTA van pool or a upgraded autonomous van pool. So there's just no doubting that, this is a more expensive transit system, but it would just be a very different, and add a much more interesting sort of progressive approach. So what you're actually looking at today is the first phase of kind of a feasibility analysis. There's no decision making here in terms of moving forward with something like this. It's really in order for them to actually do a simulation, identify the utilization levels, like how many pods they would need, what the actual alignment would be, what the actual costs are. They would go through this feasibility and modeling analysis. Normally that costs about $170,000 to do. We've asked them to take it in steps. This first phase in front of you, this proposal is $83,000. And then at the end of that, we would bring this idea back to you to see if there was interest in moving forward with the next stage of feasibility or preliminary design. So that's pretty much my presentation. And again, this is the question is, are we interested enough in this idea to at least go the next step of a feasibility analysis?
Thank you, Steve, for that presentation. We'll turn it over to the board for any discussion or action. And if I could just start, I think it's an intriguing concept, somewhat avant-garde, and maybe meets the vision of the innovative nature of the point. I guess one concern that I have as you bring this up is as we look at it as a replacement for light rail within the project. I think on one of the slides you had, slide 23, it talked about that riders are more likely to ride when they have a direct route. And I think that's the concern that I have, that if the state is going to invest a lot of money of getting light rail to the point at somehow, which I think is important, and we've already made major investments in having a light rail system within the valley, I'm not sure that it makes a lot of sense to try to move people from one mode of traffic to the other. Even if there is some potential cost savings, I think long-term we'll see more ridership if we make that investment to make it a complete line without having to connect to something else. And especially as we're trying to get people to kind of move through the point to get to Front Runner from other areas of the valley, having to get off and get onto a different mode of transit.
So let me make one clarification, and I might have confused you all a little bit. The primary idea here is that this would not change the LRT system. The LRT system would continue to be as it is. The circulator system is a completely separate system. It's a loop system that stops at the two LRT stations and the Front Runner and connects the other portions of the project. So the one slide that showed it, taking the place of the LRT is just an additional idea of when the time comes to actually, go into more detailed analysis on the LRT crossing the interstate. If we had moved forward with something like this, that could be an option UTA could consider. But this proposal is not meant to take the place of the LRT. It's meant to be a separate sort of last mile system that once you land at the site in LRT, you could have the option of getting on this system to go to your workplace or your residence much quicker than as an alternative to a more conventional shuttle that would be running around the loop.
Thank you, Steve, for that clarification, which I think I understand, but my comments are pointed to that alternative of not having the LRT,
understood.
or having this take the place of the LRT, which I just don't think is a good idea.
Understood.
So that's my comment. Other members of the board, discussion to the presentation. Chair Snow.
Thank you. Steve, thanks for your presentation. I think you said in your presentation that this system is currently under development or perhaps under construction in New Zealand. Is that correct?
That's their first system, yes. It's a private partner, public-private partnership between a major developer. It's very similar to what we're doing here. It's a major developer who's doing a large new community. And he initially was using SWIFT internally. The local government got wind of it and actually said we wanted to be a partner so there could be a larger network out to connect to areas outside the site. So that project is under construction and should be actually, they believe, commissioned by the end of next year.
You've been with the Point as our consultant since day one, and do you have an opinion? I mean, how long is this a decision we should make now, or do you think it's a decision we could circle back to after we see a first project completed and actually see it in operation and have the benefit of not being the first? Do you have an opinion on that?
Well, I think if you had we could completely kick the can down the road and say, well, let's come back and look at this in a year and see if it's how it's progressing on these other projects. Or we could do this initial study now just to understand better, what the plan would look like, what the costs would be. Clearly, the decision to move ahead with this is later down the road. I mean, there's no reason to, I think clearly the go, no go on this could easily be, 12 months, from now or longer. Again, mainly because we don't need it right away, because the project is designed in a manner that we don't really need a circulator. Once we move to the west, that's when we would start to be looking at something more in the near term.
Remind us too, the cost of the initial study?
It's $83,000.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair Snow. Additional comments from the committee. Director Ombre.
One question for you.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Do we need to think about the infrastructure in the backbone infrastructure package if we were to go with this?
Exactly. That is the first question. And our basic thinking is that as we move forward is that, our base case is that we have a dedicated lane for a local transit now on the loop road. This would actually just fit into that space, the stations, and that we would, the additional corridor or lanes would be converted to parking, parallel parking, or like Uber drop-off loading space, something which actually, because we have this transit loop, we don't have a parallel parking or drop-off, configuration on our loop road. And so this would allow that to occur if we were to go this direction. So the simple answer is we think no. There would be a charging station or two that would be someplace in the project that would require maybe some upgraded electrical capacity. But that would be, and that's one of the reasons that doing a sort of a preliminary study would help inform us of that. But that would probably be the only thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Additional comments or action from the board? Okay, Chair Snow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a motion to make, and I'd like to make the motion, Mr. Chair, and then speak to it with an explanation. That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead and make the motion.
I would move that we circle back on this maybe within at about a year juncture, and keep this idea in mind, but not move to go forward at this point. And then I'd like to speak why.
Okay, so the motion is that we postpone the additional feasibility study for up to a year, and then review it at that time. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, Director Ambre seconds. We'll go back to Chair Snow for discussion.
Thank you. Steve, I really, and members of the commission, I really like the idea. I like the innovation. And I'm thinking that maybe this is something that we could move forward on after we get the project in New Zealand a little further out in front of us. I think we've all committed to coming up with a system for a mobility, circular mobility at the center of this project. But I don't feel comfortable committing these funds to be out in front with a system that we don't know a little bit more about at this point. And my sense is that we'll still have some time. And I'm believing that we can take a look at this in a year. We'll have more information, both from the New Zealand project and perhaps other projects that have got on board with this. But I don't feel comfortable making that commitment at this juncture. Thanks, Mr. Chair, for letting me speak to it.
Thank you, Chair Snow. Additional discussion to the motion. I'm not seeing. Let me just double check online. Yeah, Representative Stenquist.
Thank you. There were a few of us on a subcommittee that reviewed this proposal and looked at it, and my personal opinion is I think this is a very innovative solution that we should seriously consider. Representative or Chair Snow's point that maybe it's a little bit premature is well taken, but I do think that this is something that we should seriously consider, maybe in the near future. I think it's got a lot of merit as an internal circulator system that doesn't rely on the road. And I know that one of the points that was made is that maybe the initial upfront capital investment may seem higher. It's because if you're using something that's on the road, then you have to take into account the cost that has been put into building the road that other circulator systems might travel on, and the fact that, say, if you had an internal bus circulator system, it would be taking away that road space for other vehicle traffic. So having this type of solution that that provides a point-to-point transportation mode as an internal circulator that's doesn't require road infrastructure, I think is would put the point as a leader in innovative transportation technology. So I think I really do think we should consider this option.
So Representative Stenquist, are you proposing a substitute motion or?
Well, I don't know the feeling of the rest of the board. I think a feasibility study at this time would be, I think if we're just going to move forward with a feasibility study, it might be appropriate to do that at this point without, just simply to gather more information. And with the idea that we might look at it in the future.
So I'll take that as you're just speaking against the motion.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mayor Ramsey.
Hi, I am speaking. Mayor Walker's on this meeting, and he's not a panelist for some reason. He can't talk. He's tried several to speak during the meeting. So he sent me a text and asked me to just comment that he is supportive of this and would love to take a look at the link between the Blue Line and the Point. Of course, we know that that's an extension he's interested in, but this circulator is something he's supportive of looking into and would he's supportive of this. And now, if I may, from my own standpoint, I can tell you there's a lot of communities in the state of Utah that would love to have the opportunity to look at something like this in their own area. I mean, my own community is one of them, and it is a conversation that I think is certainly worth having, the idea of going further on this.
So Mayor Ramsey, if I could just clarify, are you then also speaking against the motion to postpone? You'd like to move ahead with the feasibility study?
I think there's value in it, especially if we are looking to map out the infrastructure and make sure that it would be a shame if there wasn't space for something like this, if it's determined later that this is the route to take, because we didn't plan for it far enough in advance. So yes, I would like to at least look at it and have it be considered, because sooner rather than later is the time to plan these things out, in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Ramsey. Mayor Walker, you should be a panelist now. We apologize that you weren't there, but would you like to add any comment to this discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Were you talking to me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying, Mayor Ramsey said that you had been trying to chime in here, and she expressed that you were supportive of moving forward with this feasibility study. But is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, especially I was with Mr. Stenquist. We were in that smaller group that looked at this, but I think that I-15 connection potential is something that we may want to move into the process. It's certainly cheaper than anything I've seen, to be able to cross I-15. It would allow light rail to do some different stuff, like use its current right of way, without having to make a big turn into the project. I think it has some potential that we ought to definitely explore. If it's really as fast as they say it is and as capable as they say it is, it could be a game changer. Plus, it's pretty cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor Walker. Any other discussion from the board?
Can I sum on my motion?
Yeah, I will. Go ahead.
Is it okay if I do?
Yeah, I'll let you summarize.
Steve, this may not follow Robert's rules, but I'd like to inquire a question of Steve. Steve, if we hold off a year, can we still elect to make space for this, or is this something that you feel like needs to be decided right now?
Well, as Michael asked the $64 question, and that is, what's the relationship between this system and our current infrastructure planning, which is moving ahead, very rapidly, towards construction. And our preliminary assumption is that we can fit this in to our current infrastructure. One of the values of the feasibility study would be to confirm that, would be to actually look at the specific locations and the specific station types and just confirm that, yes, it does fit or it doesn't fit, or do we need 2 more feet here or there or something. Now, if we needed 2 feet here or there, we don't want to do anything that's going to slow down the infrastructure, construction process, but it would shed some light on any conflicts that we might have. And it would also identify the locations. Like I said, there's probably a couple of charging station locations. It's a little bit like the VTOL proposal that you just approved. We think from a planning standpoint, understanding, spatial requirements and infrastructure requirements early on is really important, rather than waiting and then it being too late. And so there would be some advantage to moving ahead. And but I don't think it's a deal killer to just say, let's come back and look at it in 9 or 12 months. It's just that we might have, we'll just be less informed as to the implications between now and then.
Thank you. My motion was based on and still is that if we don't lose anything, taking a wait and see approach of 9 to 12 months and revisiting then and keeping track of how the project is progressing in New Zealand and otherwise is a wise approach. And so thank you, Mr. Chair, for letting me sum on my motion. Again, it's not that I'm opposed to it at all. It's simply that I hate to, I'm not in favor of committing funds for a study if we can still get there by giving it a little more time so that we can take additional facts into consideration. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chair Snow. I'll go ahead and place the motion. So the motion is that we postpone a decision on approval of the initial feasibility study for 9 to 12 months and then take it up then. All those in favor of that motion say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Say no. All right, I'll rule that passes unanimously. All right, we'll move on to the 8th item on our agenda, which is the Public Arts Master Plan presentation. And I believe is she online? She's here. Oh, she's there. Oh, there you are. If you would come up. Designing Local is the consultant leading the development of our Arts Master Plan. And they have been seeking input on the draft Public Arts Master Plan. They spent yesterday visiting with a variety of stakeholders to review the thematic ideas and proposed art placements within Phase 1. Amanda Golden and Jasmine Metcalf of Designing Local are here in person, and they will provide us with a status update on the master plan and receive comment from the board. So we'll turn the time over to you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. We are so excited to be at this point in our project, primarily because we have had a number of community conversations throughout the state, and it has been revealed to us a number of themes and value statements that we would like to include in our public art plan moving forward. Today's plan is to show you what we think the themes of the art should be, kind of focus areas within Phase 1 of the development, and then to walk you quickly through some of the big ideas that we have. In a few months, we're going to be coming back to you with some administrative requirements and thoughts on that, but we wanted to break this content up into 2 different presentations. So as we've had conversations with members of the public, a number of things have come up. All of the art that's going to be at the point should be inclusive and welcoming. We know that this is going to be a huge international gathering place, and we want to make sure that public art is a major component of communicating those values of both the state of Utah and the people of Utah. So inclusive and welcoming tends to be kind of our biggest theme that we are hearing. We want to make sure that everyone can see themselves reflected in the art that is at the point, and make sure that it is really a beacon of joy and excitement as people join you here at this location. We want to make sure that the art has inside of its values a very important connection to place, making sure that that connection is thoughtful and resonates with people from throughout the state, which would include featuring your natural local surroundings, your geographical features, and all the different cultural stories that represent this great place. We want to make sure that all of the art is community-oriented, sustainable and accessible, and we want to make sure that visitors are surprised and excited about the art that they're seeing. We don't want there just to be these static installations that are placed in very large places, but we want people to be surprised and excited about what they're seeing. And I'm going to hand it over to Jasmine to talk a little bit more about how we plan to integrate that into some very specific areas.
So as we're thinking about building this collection, we're really identifying some primary artwork location opportunities. And these are really based on how we foresee people moving throughout the site, and especially where the pedestrian experience is going to be the most impactful. This isn't to say that there won't be mural opportunities and art integrated into architecture and interior spaces and things of that nature, but there's going to be a few places where we feel that really large scale, impactful, dynamic public art will kind of set the groundwork for how people experience the point, especially from an arts perspective. So the primary focus areas that we're defining in this section of the plan are the River to Range, the Promenade, the Central Park, the Chapel to Trail, and transit trails and infrastructure. So that said, when we think about the central green space, we really foresee this as a place that brings people together. So when you think about works of art that are situated in large green spaces, these are things that people gather around. It's that, photo moment where your family gets in front of it and you take the picture. And so we really see this as one major artwork opportunity that fits in with the programming of the central green space. And when we provide inspiring artwork examples, we're not really saying that this is the exact art piece that we're seeking or the scale, but it's really to explain how people interact with it. So it might be something that's structural, that functions as an amphitheater or another programmable space, or something that's just an icon of the point. The next space that we considered is the promenade. And this is really a space that encourages you to interact. It encourages you to break away from the bustling shopping district and get up and close and personal with art. So this is really artwork that is much more integrated into the urban fabric than what you're seeing in other places. It might be literally built into a plaza or hanging above you and offer you an opportunity to direct yourself around the art. So these are things that are really highly interactive, playful, a little bit more bold, and again, encourage you to break away. The next opportunity area is the River to Range, and we see it as an invitation to discover. And so when we talk about discovery, we talk about things that are more thematic around nature, geology, Utah's natural wonders and natural resources. These are things that are a little bit more intimate in how you experience them. They might have a day to night feature in which the space is really feeling transformed by the way the art is lighted. And they might be literally representative of nature, or they might be a little bit more metaphorical. And then there's the Chapel to Trail. We see this as an opportunity to reflect. This artwork is more ephemeral. It may be of a storytelling nature. You might learn about themes of Utah's history or things that we connect with, especially linked to our value systems as part of this. It's a little bit more peaceful, and we really see people encountering artwork that might be of two primary natures here. So maybe one large piece of artwork that is situated near the chapel and provides people a moment to sit and stay a while and really reflect. And then also potentially iterative pieces that move you north-south across the site and might provide some type of storytelling or educational experience. Last, I would like to talk about transit and connections, and it feels like it's very on topic for today. Yes. So we really see this as what drives us forward. It's the thing that you're looking towards at the end of a vista or at the end of your view, and it's the thing that you're moving towards. So this artwork is more themed around movement, repetition. It has a utility to it, so it might be used to identify a certain transit station or a certain target location or landmark. It might also be something that offers you this sense of movement alongside transit, so it could be used to cover up some infrastructure that we typically don't love to look at. So maybe, think a retaining wall with some type of piece that moves with you as you move along a transit line, something of that nature. And this stuff can also be little pops of color that really, again, provide some fun to an environment that you usually just think about as a public utility.
Thanks, Jasmine. As we have been thinking about and building a public art program for you all, the thing that continues to resonate with us is public art should be used as a storytelling vessel. And so I believe that your stakeholders, your community, and all of you are committed to using public art as a storytelling tool. As part of the program, we are also thinking about how local artists and Utah artists can be supported with the large investment that you're going to be making into public art. And finally, as part of our process, we're really thinking about how we can establish clear processes for art selection that both understand and mitigate all of the speed issues in which a lot of the projects have had today, meaning that there's infrastructure needs that need to be addressed now, and then there are projects that are going to be coming down the line. And so we're building programs and also processes that adjust to those needs and those timelines. Our team is really working hard on next steps, which is what will be in front of you in the next couple of months. Primarily, we will be bringing to you a public art charter, which will establish the definition of public art. It'll define what public art is and what public art is not. It will solidify the character of public art at the point, what we are all seeking to do and what that vision is. And it'll also establish an organizational structure for governance of both the selection, the implementation, and the maintenance and care for the collection after that piece and series of pieces are implemented. We will also be bringing to you a policy that you will adopt as a land authority that will govern this program. We'll make sure that you have best practices in place for your collection management, as well as those funding sources. And then finally, we're going to be very focused on what the selection process for artists will be, especially as we consider those timing considerations. So we are considering a pre-qualification list for artists to be selected, as well as an opportunity for a more public process, which would be RFQ, RFP processes. And again, those programming recommendations will include who is on the advisory board, how do we include folks from throughout the state in decision-making processes, how do we make sure that public art professionals are the ones who are making those decisions and who are supporting your decision-making, especially given the large scale of this investment. And then also it's going to consider some staffing needs as well. So that'll be coming to you in the next few months. And finally, we'll take questions.
Awesome. Thank you for that great presentation. We'll move to the board for any discussion or questions. Let's go with Director Starks.
I'll just add quickly that I had the opportunity to visit with the team yesterday and kind of ask some more questions and get a better understanding. And I lived in cities where the city's built out and then they say, I wish we had some public art. And the fact that we have a clean slate and we get to start from the ground up, I think is such an opportunity for us. And so this will be an important piece of the fabric of the community is this public art. So excited to learn more in the coming months, but just wanted to thank your team. I think I think some good things are in store. So
Thank you, Director. Any other comments or questions from the committee? Not seeing any. I'll just add, I really appreciate the presentation. I also got a chance yesterday to get a little more of an in-depth view of the work that you guys have been doing and just really appreciate that. I think art is so ingrained in our culture from the very beginning that the pioneers entered this valley and so I think ensuring that that's an important focus point of this project is critical. So thank you so much for that great work that you're doing.
Don Willie had asked to somehow be presented in the art, either like as a statue or as a picture. I told him I thought that we'd have to discuss that further as a board. So
we'll wait for that motion.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe you could do a mock-up or something for that. All right. Well, thank you again. We'll let you go and we'll move on to the next and final item of our agenda. This is the Phase 1 development update. We'll recognize the point partners to come up. I know we have a few different members of the team here, and we've got about around 10 minutes or so if you guys have a chance to present. So if you want to come forward here, since November 2023, the Point Partners, which consists of the Colmena Group, Lincoln Company, and Wadsworth Development, has been engaged in preparations for the development of Phase 1 of the Point. And they have met with potential tenants, onboarded commercial real estate firms, and attended the ISCS in Las Vegas. So we've got Patrick online who will provide a status update on Phase 1 of the development. So we'll turn some time over to you, Patrick, and appreciate your presentation today.
Great. Thank you, chairs and board, and apologize, can't be there in person. Came down with a nasty flu here the past day, so bear with me as I hopefully don't lose my voice running through our deck here. I'm going to share screen. Oops. Y'all can see this, hopefully.
Yep, we can see it.
Great. Let me just go to presentation mode. All right, so we wanted just to give everybody a time to go through sort of what we've been up to since our last get together, and a lot of things have transpired since our last presentation to board meeting when we discussed sort of marketing efforts, and we're just going to sort of run you through what we've been up to. So again, a lot of things going on behind the scenes, huge team effort. Sometimes it's hard to sort of see how many things are working at the same time. But we've got a tremendous amount of resources, teammates, consultants, architects, partners, et cetera, continue to focus on, what we think are the most critical pre-development items that we're currently facing with the point. So, in no specific order, a design of the promenade has continued to be a focus. With brought on a world-renowned landscape architect, Rios, who has been helping us design that, and are excited to share a few images and updates with you today. We are currently designing a multifamily building on H5A along the promenade. That will be a 350 unit wrap construction type multifamily product with ground floor retail. Continuing to work on the state master utility design and coordination, working on our district energy initiative using geothermal, which we've engaged several consultants on, or continuing forwarding that effort. Obviously a technology initiative, which relates to a lot of the conversations you all have had today. Really digging into our concert and event venue initiative. So working with several partners, have to be careful in terms of what we disclose confidentially, given this is a public hearing, but some great potential venue operators who are working on putting proposals together with us, which we hope to present to you all soon. Continue to entertain sub-campus user initiatives, continue to work through our affordable housing initiative, continue to move forward with our public finance and bonding strategy, focusing again on parking strategy and our consultants there, operations and structures, our DDA amendment, hotel market study, which has been issued and is being folded into our projections for phase one, and obviously branding and marketing being a huge push, both with ourselves and Colliers, to get our collateral out to the market, hopefully in the next few weeks. Just in terms of the slides we've kind of put together today to run through, just sort of a quick table of comments on leasing and marketing, promenade design, river to range, our residential and retail project, and also our public infrastructure district. And the one thing I'd sort of forgot to add to our sort of long list, but prior was obviously our continued cooperation with Representative Moss and Yushi on Convergence Hall, and working through architectural designer selection there. So as Don had mentioned, we were at ICSC this past May with, obviously you see a photo there of Mr. Wadsworth, myself, Mr. Fugel. This was a large booth set up by Lincoln Retail, which is a group that's internal to our platform that we've partnered with to, again, reach a national grasp, if you will, of retail tenants that are out there. We've also brought in, a local or more sort of local centric group, Mountain West Retail Commercial, who's helping us with, again, focusing on retail opportunities that are more both in Utah and the Mountain West region, in the hopes of, again, kind of balancing our efforts to obtain national tenants and local tenants here at the point. And then obviously, Colliers leading the front on our commercial leasing activities for both office and life science users. So great event, a lot of really good meetings, a lot of great prospective tenants. We had some wonderful collateral, and obviously a bunch of the decision makers who were in person to help take, those critical meetings that we think will hopefully bear fruit for this project. This is a quick sort of snapshot. We put coming soon because we're sort of finalizing our imagery here, but this is an example of our commercial office buildings that would be along the promenade. One on the left is a larger 225,000 foot office building, and the other on the right is a 75,000 foot building that can function for a life science user. So really happy with the design. This was a partnership with HKS Architects, who both has a national and also local Utah presence, and we've done a lot of work with. So we're excited again to continue this collateral and be able to get this in front of users and tenants that are currently in the market and are continue to examine the market here in Utah. So promenade design, I wanted to sort of walk you through our updates here. Again, a ton of work between Arcadis, HKS, and really Rios, who's our landscape architect. If I could tally up the amount of hours, it would be in the hundreds that has been dedicated towards this sort of pursuit in regards to getting our design to really reflect what we've always talked about, which is something authentically Utah, which wasn't an easy feat. It took a lot of, as I would say, cussing and discussing in regards to coming up with what the right mix of uses should be for the promenade, and really the right feel of something that wasn't just going to be a facsimile of projects that we've found elsewhere in the country, but something that really is going to be a special moment for visitors, residents, and tenants at the point in this initial phase. So again, the way we sort of broke this up is, again, we wanted to sort of create this narrative and this story about how this all relates to the state. And we really looked at sort of Utah's natural resources and diversity of landscape and geology to really help kind of create this sort of story of how folks move through the promenade. So again, you can see from a woodland meadow to our aspen grove to a thermal spring and our crevice gardens, those are all meant to really relate to the diversity of Utah landscape. And we thought that was something that was going to be, very special. And all this, again, would be sort of the focal point, right, for this first phase, and really be the center for all activity and the hub for this overall development. This is just an example of sort of, if we go back to the crevice garden, of just sort of how some of our freestanding kiosks that would be, both a place of respite, but also a place of commerce in regards to having retailers be able to utilize and activate these spaces. So the goal was that these can be used, throughout all seasons, provide shade in the summer and warmth in the winter, but also provide, an interesting architectural lens, which we, again, wanted to be something that was, speaking to a little bit of the mountain history and architecture that we see in Utah and some of our, better sort of, call it mountainous cities and towns. Moving on again into our crevice garden is another example of just sort of how we wanted to break up placemaking and seating, how we really wanted the landscape to kind of, create interesting moments for, again, tenants and guests of the project. And also having, again, these activated retail areas that we think are, are architecturally significant, but also allow really flow through both sides of the promenade. So you're creating the view corridors, and you're not creating sort of areas that get too, call it oversubscribed, or end up blocking natural light or, permeability, right? Which we're always focused on when we talk about how people can sort of move around this project in the initial phase. So just, again, another example of the architecture and sort of the vision, what our, furniture, what our planting and landscape and planners will look like. It really wanted to be something that's natural, but also feels sort of modern, contemporary, and will age well over time. Again, sort of looking at our thermal spring, which is a water feature concept in the center of the development that we, again, believe just be an interest, point of interest, obviously through the warm weather months when we can activate water. And this is an example, again, of a freestanding retail kiosk that will support our overall retail vibrance along the promenade. And this is, again, a work in progress, but just in the Meadow Valley of sort of being, again, a sort of flexible use, we call it a sort of stage, if you will, but an area that can, again, be programmed, throughout the year. We really wanted to get there to be nonstop sort of curated activities and programs throughout the year that we can, again, utilize and share throughout these different venues. So there's always something going on, and there's always different ways to be able to utilize these. So we don't really ever have moments of downtime or have a dead sort of feeling, if you will, throughout the year. Happy to answer any questions there. I can also wait till the end of this presentation, but this will go into what Design Workshop has been working on through the river and range concept. Again, if we're looking at river to range, sort of just an update on what's been done so far in terms of sort of how the river to range area gets programmed. And obviously, I think we've all agree on what a substantial feature this will be to the project from a landscape design standpoint. So we're very excited about sort of what's come to fruition over the initial studies and concepts that have been used here today, ranging everywhere from dog park to social eddies, call it, areas where people can sort of find respite and solace to have, small format conversations or be reflective. Flexible lawn areas that can be programmed throughout the years, gardens, right, that will support pollinators and also highlight local Utah landscape. Our pedestrian bridge, which has always been sort of a focal point that will really kind of connect the promenade to the additional phases, our LRT stop, and again, a larger multi-purpose field and playground. So again, that we're being able to offer amenities to all folks of all ages and demographics here.
Patrick.
Yeah.
I love this presentation and I'm sure everyone's really interested in it, but we're just running out of time. So if you could
Sure.
wrap up in the next few minutes, then maybe we can invite you back at our next board meeting to share some more in-depth information on these other slides.
Yeah, happy to. Again, I'll just run through some images of river to range, flex lawn, central bridge, sort of our game area, which we referenced, and then obviously the multi-purpose lawn and sort of adventure play park. Really quickly, again, sort of our site that we're focusing right now on, the residential first phase of development is right here, H5A. Again, you can see it off the promenade. Again, 350 units, 60,000 feet of ground floor retail, wrap construction. So parking will be on site. And then obviously our public infrastructure district is, what's been worked on so far. Application state approval in July for 9 PIDs with 1 operations district is yet to be created. Creation of multiple infrastructure districts and appointment of PID board members. Our PID will issue bonds for the construction of roads, water, sewer, and other public infrastructure within phase 1. And this PID board will oversee management and operations and maintenance of public infrastructure. So that I'll wrap up. Happy to answer any questions. And again, happy to come back next board meeting if we want to revisit any of these slides.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick. Let's go to the committee for any discussion or questions for Patrick. Chair Snow.
Thank you. Patrick, thank you for your presentation. I know that you and your team and you've been joined by Director Alan Matheson and I think perhaps Don from time to time in getting to these shows outside, I think in Washington, D.C. and some other national sites. These are really good places to present and show this off. What I'm curious about is how is it being received? What do you hear out there? Can you comment on the level of interest generally?
Yeah, I think, listen, there's a lot of excitement around the point. We're still from, an office use and life science use, we're still in a relatively interesting moment in time in terms of decision-making from those users and tenants. Like we've always seen in projects, right, as infrastructure starts to go in and things become more real and they become less paper architecture and they become real architecture, we traditionally see much more engagement and interest because now folks are believing more in the project's going to happen. I don't think anyone doesn't believe this project's going to happen, but they can see it. It just becomes much more valid. And again, Brandon Fugel, who's partnered with us on leasing, and our retail teams have really been putting a substantial effort into getting in front of some of these groups, and they're all very excited about it. So we're confident and hopeful we'll be able to continue to share more information as we can, I guess, publicize it better with you all. But the reception to the location, the creativity, and all the elements we've discussed for years and years, I think is being extremely well received as it's just a very meaningful, substantial, and special project.
Thank you. And you mentioned Mr. Fugel and Colliers. Are they helping your team, supporting, getting word out through their national and international channels?
Yes, yeah, 100%. They've been wonderful to work with and very active in putting together a marketing collateral with our internal marketing team. So it's been a very, substantial group effort, but we're excited to see it all start coming together.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Chair Snow. I don't see any other comments from the committee. I'll just add my 2 cents here and just really appreciate the great work that you're doing. I know day in and day out, you're focused on trying to bring the vision that we have to the point to fruition. And we just really appreciate all that great work. I also appreciate your mention of the innovation district that Commissioner Moss is working on, and the work there. I think that the state, part of the investment that the state is trying to make here is trying to take that long-term approach to really do what's best for the state. And one of the ways that we can make this project as successful as possible is to ensure that there's a great partnership between the Utah system of higher education and the industries that we have here that will be co-located at the point. And so anything that you can do to continue that partnership and work closely with Commissioner Moss is really appreciated. And then lastly, I'll say, I think as I always have when you've had these presentations, we love the idea and the vision here. We're really excited to hear about some of the tenants that have committed to be here. So just can't wait for those types of announcements to show the real progress that we have here with the point. Any last words, Patrick?
No, I thank you, chairs, as always. And yeah, we're excited to hopefully present some more good news for you guys as this project moves forward. So thank you for all the support and effort, and look forward to seeing you all soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Well, we have had a packed day, and you can see the great progress that is moving forward with the point. So we appreciate everyone's presentation. We'll remind board members and the public that our next meeting will be held in this room on Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. And with that, we'll take a final motion to adjourn. Go ahead. Go ahead, Chair Snow.
I hope I'm not out of line here, but before we adjourn, Co-Chair Representative Tusher and myself have been reviewing candidate applications for appointment of a new director. I can tell you that response has been significant, well over 100 who have responded to that posting. There is room now for us as we move to the next phase of this review to receive help from members of the commission. So any members of the commission that want to be involved, if you go back and look at Representative Tusher's email that he sent out about 10 days ago outlining the process and opening the door for you to participate in this next phase, would be appreciated. We'd like to get that started. Is that okay?
That is. And thank you for that important reminder. I appreciate that. And we'll have some big news on that in our next board meeting. So unless there's any other announcements or comments from the board, we'll go ahead and take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Director Starks, with that motion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. We are adjourned.